Hi, everybody. Welcome to our final speaker here at the New Year Best You Dream Big Summit. And, Denise, I think I have you, I always call you D in my head. Denise, I know. I always have you at the end. And you know why? It's like you keep us energized and the conversation keeps going. And we
Love
get
it.
to the end of what you say. And I'm like, I don't really want to hang up, but I guess we're going to go.
Well,
So anyway.
I'm really happy to be here. I really love talking to you, and it's just a great conference, and all the different topics you've had this weekend have been amazing. So I'm just glad to contribute. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So we ask everybody in our Best Ever You community to kind of pick a word, anchor in that word for the year, embrace that word, center it so you know when to come back to it and when to reference it and all that good stuff, rather than doing resolutions that tend to fail a couple weeks from now or whatever. Everybody, I mean, I have a list here of what people, you want to hear the list of what people have talked about? I mean, it's crazy cool to everybody listening. So we had Indiana Gregg talk about purpose. We had Sally Huss talk about effort. We had Rebecca Silence talk about commitment. I mean, really cool words, right? Joe Spurley talked about perseverance. We had compassion with a little twist of taking action with Mary Joy. So I just want to honor everybody. We had goals with Rick Keller, transformation with Carolyn Lewis. Hello, people are saying hi to us. Pamela Gale Johnson, happiness. Gina Ziola with abundance. Optimism with a little hint of gratitude in there, a lot of hint of gratitude, really, with Kimberly Reed. Wayne, I said his name wrong. I said Connell, and I still can't say it right because I think it's Canal. I'm going to group that up forever, I think. Wayne, I'm so sorry. It looks like Connell to me, and it's not. Care. It was his word, and he runs the Invisible Disabilities Association. Denise, you should look at that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And then we had a special appearance with Sherry Anna Boyle talking about mindfulness, and just on and on and on. It's been so really, truly wonderful. I feel renewed and reinvented and all those good things. But anyway,
That's a great way to start the year.
yeah, super fun. So what are you gonna talk about?
Self-talk. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Self-talk. Before we go there, talk about you a little bit. Let's have some self-talk about Denise. Tell us all about you. Tell us what your website is, your book. I don't know if you have a copy of your book right there to
Yeah,
hold up.
I do. This is my book, Ripple Affect. This was a labor of love. I was a therapist, clinical therapist for 20 years, worked in higher ed, did consulting with organizations, businesses, individuals for a number of years as well, yoga instructor, life coach. And throughout that time, I developed a protocol of how to kind of access and be aware of the patterns that go along in your psyche that you might not be aware of, and then learn to be able to change the negative ones. Because so often in the work that I did, I found that there's a level of automatic reaction that we have that feels out of our control. And so often in our lives, we feel unable to control those patterns, those habits, those reactions to people and events around us. And so that's kind of been the running theme of my life. I bring the practice of mindfulness into my own life. I started practicing mindfulness when I started my yoga teacher training more seriously, and meditation as well. And so I know that there are things that happen inside the brain when we practice those meditative and mindful activities that are super critical when we talk about self-care and when we talk about showing up the way that we want to. So that's what I've been doing my whole professional life. And it's been really, like I said, a labor of love. The book is an 8-step walk through kind of how to change your mind to change your life. And I love teaching it. And I have a retreat coming up in May in Italy, in the hills of Italy, at a yoga retreat center where people can really dive into this practice. And so it's been really fun, I have to say. I enjoy it.
I remember when you first put that out there as like one of your big dream bigs.
Yeah.
I want to have a retreat in Italy. I remember that day,
Yeah.
or when you vocalized it to me anyway.
Yeah.
And here it is. Isn't
So
that
excited.
so
Yeah.
cool?
I can't wait.
Yeah. And no, nothing's canceling it either, right?
No, I hope not. We'll
No,
see.
no, you know what I mean, all the COVID stuff
I
and
know,
everything.
I
I mean,
know. That's a
so
yes,
many of us have had retreats that have had, we've had to back out of
yeah,
those shared experiences. So
definitely,
good.
definitely.
We're feels like I'm seeing the coaching back in practice with people taking people to Italy and all the cruises and all the
I
things
think
that
so,
we do. Yeah, that are fun.
sure,
So
for
good.
sure.
Good, good, good. And I want to mention too, we're both kind of like yeah, somebody said COVID is over. I hope so. I'm so sick of COVID.
Yeah,
Thank you, Kate. Um, she's like, it is now for sure because Kate said so.
good.
Um,
Check it off.
yeah, we're both athletes. Dancer. I was a gymnast, cheerleader. You're a dancer. There's a lot of mindfulness that goes into that. Do you want to, talk about that a little bit? Because how that played a part in who you are today?
Yeah, one of the things that you have to do when you're a dancer is be incredibly focused in the moment. You can't be distracted when you're doing pirouettes. You have to be 100% focused on your focal point so that you can keep your balance. You have to have good posture. It's all about your presentation and being having really really strong technique. Otherwise you can get injured or you can make a mistake or you're not staying in sync with the people that are next to you. And so that was a really early on training that I had, but I also learned how to be kind of a team member too and how to work with others, work well with others. And so I think just as an athlete, I know that dancing isn't necessarily considered and
Yes, it is.
but it is definitely one of those things that requires dedication, it requires discipline, it requires focus. And so it definitely helped, when I went to school and when I started learning all of these different studies around mindfulness and psychology and the brain and all of that.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah,
sure.
I hear you for sure. Moments up in that balance beam. You gotta be laser focused or you're going
Absolutely.
pretty quickly. Um, so talk about self-talk. So why did you pick self-talk as the topic?
I picked it because it's a constant that we have. It is a constant stream of thoughts and words that we say to ourselves on a regular basis. I mean, every single day, all day long, and it's definitely something that's important because our thoughts are generated by our belief system. So, and that impacts our emotions and our ideas and our opinions, our biases, and so on. And oftentimes a lot of our self-talk is driven by these unconscious processes, and many times we're not even aware of the things that we're saying to ourselves, but they're, like I said, this unconscious process that, depending on your dynamics, your upbringing, your socioeconomic status, your any traumas that you've had, any mental health issues, those all impact your belief system and your self-talk, which really at the end of the day guides us through our days. So it's really important to be aware of it. You have to know how you might be holding yourself back, how you might be impacting other people around you based on your own self-talk. And it really dictates how you communicate with the world, how you communicate with yourself. And it absolutely has a lot to do with your health, not just your mental health or your cognitive health, but your level of emotional well-being. And positive self-talk, if you can get to this place where you can practice positive self-talk, it helps to increase your vitality, it helps your immune function, it helps with cardiovascular health. I mean, there are just so many health benefits to practicing positive self-talk that I really, really make sure that I focus on that when I'm working with people so that they understand and really, you know, get to a place where they realize what their self-talk is doing to them if it's negative.
Yeah. I tend to be I maybe not so much anymore, but I would say this is probably one of the areas of my life where I'm like, I gotta really work hard there to make sure I'm positive self-talk because I am picky about myself. I will pick on myself better than anybody else could ever could,
Yeah,
and so
yeah, we're
yeah.
our own worst enemy
Yeah.
sometimes.
So what do you say to somebody who does that? Like, let's say, I'll use me as an example. What if I get up in the morning, I look
Yeah.
in the mirror and I go, I'm just going to say a bunch of negative stuff. I don't do this, but like, oh my God, I'm so old. There's the wrinkle. There's just people destroy themselves in a mirror. What
Absolutely.
if you're doing that right now? So, and I'm sure that's going to resonate with somebody. But if you make a mistake and you're yelling at yourself in your head, there's all sorts of things that we do where we beat ourselves up. If you are doing that right now, and you're listening, watching, whatever, Denise, take it away and tell us how to stop doing that.
I mean, the first thing is that you've got to become aware that you're actually doing it. People are in such automatic pilot that they're not even aware of the negative things that they're doing to themselves. So right now, for whoever's watching, whoever watches this in the future, I want you to think about all the times when you are your own worst enemy, when you are being mean to yourself, when you are kicking yourself when you're down, telling yourself that you're stupid, that you're not good enough, that you're never going to succeed, you're not going to be successful, or whatever it is. You've got to pay attention to that, because it generates emotions and behaviors as a result of it. So if you're talking negatively to yourself, then you're probably going to be doing negative things. If you wake up and look in the mirror and you tell yourself you're not good enough, or I hate mornings, or today is going to stink, or whatever it is, that's what you're identifying with. You're identifying with that negativity, and that will dictate how you react to things. So I tell people to, first of all, become aware of how you talk to yourself. The first week when I work with people, that's the homework, is take this week to really pay attention to your self-talk. What do you say to yourself? How do you show up? Do you talk to yourself negatively before you even get into a meeting? Are you making comments to yourself or being judgmental to yourself before you even walk out the door? Are you anticipating negativity when you go to see your family? What is it that you're doing prior to events, or in the middle of an event, or after an event, that might be negative and not working so well for you, or holding you back, or just making you feel awful? And then paying attention to your reactions in the world. When you're in a challenging situation, how do you show up? What do you say? What do you feel like? And then really I have people write it down so that they don't forget. Starting a journal, like a self-talk journal, is really helpful. And then this is the hard part, because it's not like, if I asked you, when you started the self-talk, the negative self-talk, and talk about like dancing and gymnastics, I am sure we could go back to when we were
Right there. Yeah.
right there. And right there is where it started, right? We're both in sports that judged everything.
Everything. Yeah.
From the way you looked to how you moved. So you are probably really good at being
We're sensitive to.
your worst critic, right? So you've got to start changing it. But the problem is this: the neurons in your brain wire together. Like, it's not like you were traumatized, but in a way, it's like a small t trauma when you were so negative and critical to yourself. And the brain remembers that.
Pretty
The
crazy
brain
about the gymnastics.
yeah, absolutely. And so you've got these neurons that have now wired together and create these paths of negativity that are automatic. You don't even have to think about it. You can just roll with it. Like, one thing happens and boom, you're off and running on that negative path. So I try to teach people how to change that. And it is work, because I'd say, well, you know what, if this is what you say to yourself in the morning, what would be more effective and skillful? Even if you don't believe it's true, what can you say? And then we switch, we change, we use more positive things. We stay in the present moment. We don't use negative words. And it's really like starting from scratch to change the narrative, because that tape is so ingrained and so habituated that you've got to be consistent with it every single day. Little things, little things every single day, practicing to change. And notice when you're being mean, saying, you know what? Why on earth am I being mean to myself? Why am I critiquing myself? I'm a rock star. I've got this. I can do this, and talk to yourself in the mirror. Talk to yourself and be your own cheerleader. I used to hate mornings. I would say to myself, I hate mornings. It's going to be awful. I don't want to get up. And I would be late to work. I would have a negative attitude. But now when I get up in the morning, I do my mindfulness, and I don't even open my eyes, and I'm like, it's going to be an amazing day. Yes. You've got, like, get up, get going. And I get up feeling a lot better, So it's hard, but it's definitely something that you can do.
I have a pretty serious question for you. It's a question that somebody asked ahead of time because they knew you were coming on here and they wanted some help with it. So it's a dad, and he's a girl dad,
Okay.
and this girl dad, he has girls who have body image issues, to the point of eating disorders and things like that are creeping up and so forth. And he is just jaw drops at, they don't do anything but praise them. He's like, where are they getting this from? It's not coming from us. We love them. We don't talk about anything with respect to weight or body or anything other than, but it's not coming from them. So they're thinking it's coming from school or sports or something, peers kind of thing, but he would love some advice on how to help their self-talk.
Yeah. The one thing that is different now than was different, like if I was a therapist now versus the therapist that I was 10, 20 years ago, and I worked with so many students with eating disorders, with body image, with body dysmorphia disorders. It was kind of my specialty area. What you digest becomes your reality. And so what apps are on the phone? Social media has disrupted self-esteem. It has completely turned it upside down to the point where so many youth, from the time they can look at a phone, are on TikTok, they're on Snapchat, they're on, Instagram, and they're comparing themselves. They're taking 20 pictures before they post one, and they're comparing themselves to everyone else constantly. What you digest is so critical. And I know that it is, for me, it was a lot easier years ago when I was, working with teens, and I would say, or young adults, and I would say, really try to limit the amount of social media. But now it's so rampant that it feels next to impossible. And but there has to be an awareness and an insight. You have to be a critical consumer. You have to know that when you put on that TikTok and you're looking and you're scrolling at people that they've been doing their makeup for hours, that they have got filters on, that is the 50th take that they've had to look the way that they look, and none of it's real. Every magazine that you look at, every ad that you see, every commercial has people who have had procedures done, and the amount of younger people that are having plastic surgery is incredible. And it's so difficult to keep up with the Joneses, right? With the girls next door. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked with youth and I've just given them a challenge. Let's take a week away from social media and you rate how you feel now about yourself, and let's see how you feel after a week. If you can stay away from it, it does change. It makes a difference. And it goes so much deeper, especially if there's eating disorders involved, because there's a control issue there, and self-esteem, and kind of not wanting to kind of be seen by the world, but also just kind of wanting to give of yourself and do everything for everyone else. That comes into play as well, that you have to teach people with those issues who have no self-esteem to really pay attention to themselves and give to themselves, and to be a little bit selfish, right? Focus towards themselves. But it's a hard thing. It's really hard.
Nature of some people, it's kind of the way they're wired, or whatever. But
Yeah, perfectionism is a big thing. Certainly a piece of it as well.
yeah, I cannot imagine. I tried to picture myself as a teenager with the social media we have now, and I can't
Yeah,
actually.
I don't think I'd leave the house.
I don't know what I actually, I might have actually had like such an adverse reaction to it. I might have just been like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
Like of our four kids, we have one of them was just like, I'm not doing that.
yeah. Well,
Kind
that's
of, I might be kind of like that. I can't tell, or I'd be the one with like, I need 50 takes to get the angle right or whatever.
but it's
I can't tell who I would be. I probably a little bit of both.
exactly. But you see so many young people now that are like, we want to eat healthy, we want to detox, we want to clean ourselves. And I want to add to that, detox social media for a while. If you want to detox from caffeine, or detox from bad foods, or detox from whatever it is, detox from social media every once in a while, because it will make a difference. I mean, just having the phone near you in and of itself is bad, let alone all of the, from the radioactivity, but let alone all of the apps and the pressure that they put on you to be perfect and to look a certain way, and to think that that's what fun is, when really it's the being in the moment with your friends. That's the beauty in life. That's where the enjoyment comes.
Even adults need a detox. Like after this, we need a detox from social media. Like even after this summit, after 15 speakers and promoting this I am like taking probably like a week off, like I'll maybe post a little bit, but not nearly as much as I do to promote an event like this and all the speakers and so forth. So I will take my own downtime. And I don't think that's horrible advice for adults either, because we're on here all the time too.
Absolutely.
We're
Agree.
role modeling that to kids and stuff. But one of my dogs, actually, I'll sit on the couch and I'll be like this, with my phone. My dog will put her paw over
I
the
love I
move
love
my
it.
arm away.
No, they're smart.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's like, okay, that's my clue.
Yeah,
So, okay, so talk about thank you for that. That's very appreciated. I'm sure the advice will be very appreciated. Um,
absolutely.
what's the importance of, let's talk about business.
Yeah.
We talk personal. Let's shift over to business. And I don't get it. What's the you do, but what's the importance of self-talk in a business setting? Is there anything we can, you know, do
It's
there?
it's critically important because, like I said before, what you feel inside is what you manifest outside of you. Again, when you have positive self-talk, you feel more confident, you feel more motivated, and that can make it easier to practice to take care of challenges, to pursue goals, to be successful at work. Likewise, if you have negative self-talk, that can lead to low self-esteem or negativity or just low energy, which makes you feel not ready to tackle the day or to
Yeah.
take on those challenges or setbacks at work. So, and work inherently is just stressful, right? I mean, work stress and anxiety come along with work. It's just how the world is these days. And so positive self-talk can really help us to manage the anxiety and the stress that comes with it, as opposed to saying everything's terrible, I can't manage this, I'm flying off the handle, and I'm being mean to my colleagues because I can't manage the stress, or I'm being a micromanager as a manager or as a leader because everybody's not doing things exactly the way I think they should. And all of that negativity, the only thing it breeds is resentment, lack of energy, and the lack of loyalty, really, at the end of the day. The way to lead at work, if you're negative at work, that is going to get negativity. If you're harsh at work, that's going to make people dig their heels in and not want to work with you. You have to foster a growth mindset. If people are doing things wrong or your idea of wrong, lean in, be creative, be curious instead of judgmental. Have that growth mindset about, well, we made a mistake. What can we do differently next time? Or what was your goal in doing A, B, and C, as opposed to you did that wrong and you failed, right? Being a positive leader impacts people around you and can help people to, if you're not delivering things in a negative way, it helps people to feel good about the work that they're doing, feel valued, feel respected, as opposed to feeling judged and feeling kind of finger wagged at, which never helps. And individually, if you're thinking more positively, it just helps you deal with the setbacks that inevitably happen, and be able to bounce back from things. As opposed to saying, well, I'll never want to do that again. But say, well, that didn't work, but you know what? We're going to get it next time. We absolutely can do this. And that builds confidence, not just in yourself, but in your team as well.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of the day, it enhances communication and interpersonal skills. When you're communicating positively and confidently to your team, they're going to rally around you, as opposed to, pushing people away, and kind of putting walls up where people feel judged or they feel like they have to protect themselves because they're going to be attacked for doing something wrong.
That was beautifully said. Lots of comments coming in. Raise the bar, lessons learned, self-actualizing, negative breeds negative. Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's John. He's a great fan of the summit. Thank you, John. We're very appreciative of your comments and being with us.
Yeah.
Um, I have a question. So that was from a leader point of view. Now
Yeah.
let's take it from the person who's the employee point of view, and let's say that they just have a terrible work environment, terrible setting, or like somebody says something to them, and the boss says something negative to them, puts them down. All the things that happen or could happen when you're an employee. What should an employee do?
Yeah.
Like,
You know,
makes me want to run for the hills personally. Like my time is precious and I don't need this.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely right. So we have to worry about that black and white reaction, absolutely, because you're in a work environment. There is this trend on social media to, have the flip out, to tell the person off, to be reactive. And that never solves anything, because really you're just meeting someone where they're at, and it just creates more angst, animosity, resentment, and really can jeopardize your job. You have to be thoughtful in those moments. You have to think about, consider who it is that's being negative towards you. What specifically are they doing? Are they attacking everything you do? Is it one particular thing? Is it a boss? Is it a colleague? Is there someone trusted that you can talk to at work about it? And I don't mean gossip. I don't mean, rumor milling and creating negativity. I mean a trusted person that you can say, hey, I'm struggling. I don't want to talk, and I'm not even going to bring up a name right now, but I'm just wondering if you can help me A, B, and C strategize, because I'm feeling as if, I'm feeling attacked here. Are you noticing anything? Should I be doing something different? Where am I faltering? If it's just a curmudgeon and everyone feels the same way, then those are the kinds of things where, I've heard you talk about bubble wrap and earplugs, right? Which is kind of
Oh
like
yeah, all day long.
putting that on. And I love that metaphor, because
Yeah.
sometimes people are just who they are. And I always,
For a new job.
yeah, I do. Yeah, I try to find a balance. Like, there's a difference between like running away from something and leaving something unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
Do you stay in an abusive scenario if you have a super abusive boss? I don't know. If there are absolutely no other options, you've got to figure out a way to do it. And that would be, one of the things that I say to people a lot, especially if they have like a family member, like, you can't get rid of family. If it's a parent or a sibling or whoever it is, they're in your life. I mean, you can cut them out if it's completely and horribly abusive, but if it's just someone that you have to kind of manage,
Yeah.
yeah, I try to teach compassion. And I know people say, oh, that's just like so cliche and so ridiculous, but I say to myself, I can imagine what it must be like to be in their head right now, and what traumas they've experienced or challenges they've experienced that have resulted in them having that mentality. And wow, I have compassion for them. Then set boundaries. It's really important to set boundaries clearly, compassionately, but directly. You can be kind, but also super direct. I really won't tolerate you screaming and yelling at me. I appreciate that you want to give me feedback. I know there's a better way that we can have this conversation.
Yeah.
And asking for that kind of respect in the moment, or even thinking about it, because when someone's a curmudgeon, they're always the same way all the time. You can predict the script when they're going to be negative or unhealthy.
What do you think about this concept that John typed in? A lot has to do with culture. I totally agree with that. Like,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
what do you think about this idea though? Like, so here's my thing. I'm hypersensitive to time as well. Like, I really, from some of the things that have happened to me in my life with, allergic reactions and being resuscitated and things like that, I'm very sensitive to how much our moments really matter.
Yes.
And, especially after my father passed away, I just kind of have a personal take on this that affects kind of everything that I do, including like a job or work or whatever. And so
Yeah.
I I think time is precious. We're not entitled to time at all.
Mm.
Tell me, take this and you can flip it around, you can destroy it, you can agree, whatever you want to do with it. But what do you think about like not spending any moment more than you need to in a really super negative situation?
Yeah. It kind of.
Really, like, exhausted, if you're looking around going, "This is just not getting better."
Yeah.
Some people sit there and stew and brew with it and, like, wanna stay there. I don't get it. I just wanna be like, "Exit, I'm out of here," kinda thing, in a graceful way, of course.
Yeah.
But
No. Exactly. Well, I think the retirement epidemic that has been happening is a really, in large part, a result of people looking around and saying, you know what, I'm not happy where I am. I haven't been happy for a long time, and it's time for me to move on. A lot of organizations are having a hard time with retention, because people are demanding that they are, more often than they ever have been before, that there be a positive work culture, that there is the right and appropriate support around mental health, about well-being in the workplace. And it does matter if someone is struggling, because it will impact how they get their work done. And so, yeah, absolutely. Time is precious. You shouldn't waste time trying to, beat a dead
external.
horse. Yeah. I mean, if it's not working, it's not working. I'm certainly explore all the options, see what the potential benefits and drawbacks are from leaving an environment or going to a different one, but also see if there's opportunity to improve. You could be that person. You could be the change agent in your organization by aligning with a few people and advocating for what you believe should happen in the workplace, and see if you can't be that person to take that charge and move forward with it in the organization. You'll be appreciated, and maybe then you can change things. But a lot of times, if the employer isn't on board with you, it may not happen. And it may just be that you need to find an organization, an office, a business, or start your own business where you kind of set the tone, or find an organization or business that has the kind of culture that you're looking for.
I've
Because
had,
yeah,
no, I was just gonna say I've had amazing corporate jobs. Just I have not hated a job I've had yet. I've
that's
had so much fun in the corporate world doing things and everything. I've had a corporate job for a while now, but
yeah,
everyone I've had, I've just absolutely loved. And you
great.
feel like you're surrounded by people, bigger, like what John is saying, like bigger than you,
Yeah.
so forth. But when you don't have that, it's he just wrote in, a certain level of tolerance is certainly needed. I agree. And he loved the change agent part. And I love boundaries, like, this
Yeah,
is it. You're not crossing over it. And
absolutely.
that to me is a little black and white most of the time. I'm gonna push you back over here if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not going over here.
You
Yeah.
have to have lines. You have to. It's for your own well-being, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, your physical well-being. I have, I have workshops that I go into organizations just to talk about boundaries, because people struggle with that, working 90 hours a week and other people working 40 hours a week. Like, where there has to be balance, and you have to be able to set those boundaries. It's really important.
Yeah. We have a question from the audience. I asked people some questions for you, and I know we got to go here. It's like we've already been on for 30 minutes. We're gonna go like maybe 5, 10 more minutes, but
Okay.
I have a friend basically who lobbed this question in. Kind of the same thing. She's like getting exhausted at work. Uh,
Mm,
through she keeps getting she keeps getting called in and saying yes. Keeps getting called in and saying yes because she doesn't feel like she can say no.
mm.
Yeah.
So, so that's a tough one, because she has to look inward for that one. Um, that is part of boundaries, right? Here's what happens when you always say yes. First of all, she's probably a people pleaser. She just wants to make sure that everybody's taken care of all the time, and many times to the sacrifice of herself.
Yeah.
She may have learned to operate. That could have been her role in her family. She could have been a caretaker. So I ask people, if they're not able to say no very often, to really take a deep dive, look inside about what would it feel like if you said no? And is it okay if someone gets upset if you say no? My answer to that is it absolutely is, because
Yeah.
when you set a boundary, you're not setting a boundary to make other people happy. You're setting a boundary to protect yourself. What happens at work and in relationships, with friendships, with partners, is that when you always say yes, people come to expect the yes. So when you start to set boundaries, there is going to be backlash. And people are going to go, "Well, what do you mean you can't do it?" And then you're going to feel guilty. And then you're probably going to revert back to what
Yeah.
you've always done. And you're going to continue to be exhausted. This is where the hard part comes in. It has to be, I know that you want me to be able to do this right now, but it's beyond my bandwidth this week. And I know you've got this. You'll be able to manage it. Or next month, I'll be able to help you with this. When you're always the yes person at work, then you're also always the person that people will go to, because they know that you'll do it. They know that you'll say yes and you'll do a good job with it. So you also kind of create that dynamic where, oh, if something can't get done, we'll just go to so and so because she always says yes.
Yeah.
And so you have to look inside about what dynamic you are creating because of your own kind of operating system inside. And then think about, I have a little kind of schematic that I put together for people, but what you absolutely have to get done, what would be really good to get done, what you kind of want to get done but doesn't really have to happen, and what you're doing now that is completely wasting your time. And write everything that you're doing in your world and put it on this screen. Put it on on this sheet, and then talk about eliminating where you need to, and focus your time and energy on the really important things.
I love it. All right. What happens? Let me ask you this. What happens? One more question. What happens if maybe two? No. What happens if you do all that and you meant to say no, but you say yes? I want to go there to that moment of like self-talk right there, because it's a different kind of self-talk.
Yeah.
Talk
Wh-
about that kind of self-talk for a minute.
When you realize that you said yes and you wanted to say no, that
Mhm.
moment,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, don't beat yourself up. It's a learning opportunity. You can say, okay, I did this. It's something that I have done before. My brain is used to doing this. I'm going to notice how I feel through this process. I'm going to pay specific attention to the energy that it pulls from me, to the areas of my life where I should have been paying attention to things, but I'm not now because I'm doing that. I'm going to, pay attention to the, maybe how my performance in the areas of things that I need to get done is now reduced because I'm doing this thing. And I'm going to make a commitment to myself that the next time someone asks me to do A, B, and C, the answer is going to be an unequivocal no. And then move forward. Don't beat yourself up. Don't get mad, but just say, you know what, the next time I'm going to set that boundary and make sure that I do. And you can also change your mind. I mean, that's the thing too. Just because you said yes, I guess if it's your boss, you probably need to do it. But there may be
Maybe
even
not, who knows?
depending on your relationship with them. But you could go to someone and say, hey, I thought I had time on my schedule to do this. As it turns out, I don't. I started it, but I'm going to have to throw it back and put it into your court. I really apologize about that, but I'll help when I can next time. But for now, it's a no, and I I apologize about that.
All right, one more question because I said two. One more, and then we're gonna go.
Okay.
You pick which one. Pick which one you want to answer. How can you use self-talk to create, manifest what you want in your life, or how do you keep your momentum up and keep self-talk positive if you're used to negative self-talk?
Um, I think I like the manifesting one.
Okay, go for it because it
Yeah,
goes with the whole new year.
yeah, because I can give people some very specific strategies of what to do. Um, when you want to change something, you have got to first notice that there's something that you want to change. And if it's your negative self-talk, then you have to identify what the specific things are that you're saying to yourself that you want to change. Write them down. Write down the negative things that you want to change. And I'm only going to have you ever write this down once because I don't ever want those words to come into your head again. I just want you to notice them because what you're going to do is you're going to flip those sentences. Even if you don't believe it, you're going to take, I can't be successful, or I hate mornings, or I'm stupid and I'm a failure. And you're going to flip them to, I am so successful. I'm more successful than I've ever been. Mornings are the best. I am amazing in the morning, or, whatever it is that you find that you're being negative towards, change it and make it present moment focused as if you're doing it now and no negative words in it. So it won't be, I'm going to stop being negative in the morning. It's mornings are amazing. I love mornings. I've got this. I'm going to get up and write down what you're changing that into. And when you catch yourself being negative, you've got to quickly flip and say the other sentence. Use the positive self-talk as opposed to the negative self-talk in that moment, because you're trying to break. It's kind of like this locomotive of a negative talk that's been like, it's probably going like 80 miles an hour now that you've been practicing and holding on to for your life. And I'm asking you to get on a different train, on a different track. And the more you focus on the other train, the more coal goes into the engine and the more electricity gets pulled into that train, and the faster that one will start to go. The other one will start to slow down. So you've got to shift and change tracks so that you're using positive words. And it's really important that you practice it every single day. And when you notice yourself being negative, change to the positive. But here's another important piece of this. Record yourself saying it. Record yourself saying all the positive things. I have people write an entire script like, I'm amazing. I'm living my best life. I get up every morning with excitement. I exercise. I put good things into my body. I surround myself with positive people. I'm, doing all the things that I want to do for my business, A, B, and C. They put everything positive. They put it into a recording and they listen to it. And that's one of the things that they listen to, and they talk to themselves in the mirror positively as opposed to talking negatively. So that's a little bit quick snippet because I know we have to end, but that's what I try to do when I'm working with people to help change their mindset.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. Anything else before we go? What's your website again, and where do you want people to find you? All that good stuff.
It's on Instagram and TikTok. It's DZ Mindful Coach, and my website is Denise Zak Life Coach, ZACK with a K. .com.
Okay, hold up your book one more time. So we all got to go. Yeah.
Yep.
Ripple Affect, AFFECT. Yep. All right. It was so good to see you. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for being here with us. We're very, very grateful. This kind of ends our conference, Denise. And you know me, I hate ending things, but I guess we got to go
On to the next thing.
on to the next thing. All right. Mwah.
Yeah.
Bye. Good to see you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody. Take
Take
care.
care.